Hello, everybody. Welcome to and welcome back to my channel, Book Time with Elvis. In this Friday Night Live Q&A session, I'm joined by the irrepressible Randy Ray from the literate Texan, isn't it? Or literate Texan?
Irrepressible, the literate Texan, as if there were only one.
The literate Texan, yeah, that's right. The only man in the
I
Lone
didn't think
Star
that through before I named the channel. Yeah, I didn't think that through very well. I should have named it a literate Texan. I have friends in Texas who read.
So how are you doing, sir? Are you well?
I'm marvelous, man. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
Yeah,
Thank you for asking me to do this.
Oh, pleasure, really, pleasure. And yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. I see you've been very busy, though, at the moment with putting out videos. I watched part of, I didn't have time to finish it because it was, I think, close to 3/4 of an hour long, your book haul video. The mega book haul.
I did not mean for that to be 45 minutes long, but it sure did turn out that way. The most epic. Well, you know what's funny is I got 4 more books in the day after I made that video, and I was like, dang it.
I forget what the first one you showed was because I was thinking it come up recently for me, and I can't remember now exactly what it was. I suppose you don't remember, do you? The first one you showed up.
No, it's.
Yeah, because I
did get the new Stephen King novel.
Yeah,
it didn't make the video. I didn't get here in time for the video, but yeah, I got the new Stephen King novel yesterday.
I got it. Malmud, the
Natural by Bernard. Yeah.
Because I was thinking of reading it this year for Summer of Sport, and then I was going to say, do you want to read it with me? So,
let's do it.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
I'm in. That'll be fun. Yeah. I'm really excited about it. Baseball is, baseball. I'm not a sports fan, but I love baseball. And I think I love baseball because it's the most literary of sports because there's time to reflect on what's going on. Like football, rigidly timed, fast paced. There's not really time to think about much before the next play is going on. But in baseball, stuff happens so seldom that you have plenty of time to talk about the last time something happened.
Yeah.
You can reflect and discuss. And for literary guys like us, I think that's a real benefit to a sport. But that's just one of my crazy theories, old man theories.
We've got a couple of comments already, or maybe greetings. Greg from Ghost Readers in the Skies here, irrepressible.
Hey, Greg. I love the word irrepressible. It always makes me think of Robert Benigni from the movie Life is Beautiful. When he got his Oscar and he bounced all over the stage.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, boy, he's irrepressible, that guy.
Definitely. Actually, Greg, I think I'm beginning to think I didn't comment on one of your videos now because I'm sure I sent you a comment asking you if you wanted to be part of June on the Range because obviously you would go well with it, Greg. So if I did, then obviously I missed a response if there was one, or maybe I wrote on the wrong channel, which could well have been the case, but this might be the only way for me to mention it to you. Alan's here. Hi, Alan. Alan joined me last week. It was great fun. I would definitely have to do that again. It's weird, isn't it? Because we got the first 2 comments. We got Greg and Alan, and they're not the Greg and Alan that a lot of people might be thinking of.
Right, yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. Joseph's here. Howdy, gentlemen. Helen's here. Hi, Mark. Hi, Randy. Hi, all. Erin's here. Good evening. And Summer's here as well. Salutations to you, Summer. We also have Dallas Does Books, which I don't know if you know them, Randy, but is there a novelization of The Sandlot? You're killing me, Smalls.
I don't know that there is a novelization of it, but yeah, you are killing me, Smalls. Great movie.
And Ariane is also here. Hi, Ariane. Hope you're well. So,
hey, Ariane.
I guess we could jump in. We could jump right in. So
let's do it.
We have, I think we have 10 questions, although 10 points, as some people have doubled up on their questions, so there are a few more. But the first one is actually from yourself, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, so I am playing the voice of the audience today, which is really exciting for me. So the first question is from the literate Texan, and it is, if you had to pick a book to designate as the, quote, great American novel, which one would you pick?
Right. Now, this has given me a sleepless night or two, to be honest with you. And it's a
That's what
very,
I'm hoping for.
well, to me, it's a very interesting term because I don't think it's something you come across so much in other countries so much. It just seemed to me a very American thing. I don't ever remember people talking about, always searching for the great English novel or the great British novel or
Right.
kind of thing. And then it got me thinking, what is a great American novel? And obviously, I looked online to see what it was, and you actually caused me to read one of the contenders. I read it. I started it last night and finished it about 3 hours ago, which is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Which I know
I was hoping that was the one you were going to say.
Well, it's not necessarily my answer, but it's one I read.
But it is a favorite.
I haven't read it. I had read Tom Sawyer before, but not this one. I actually really enjoyed it, despite the fact that I had to look it up. The N word. I thought when people complained about the use of the N word in it, that it was mentioned a few times. I didn't realize it's mentioned over 200 times in the book. Now, I know this sounds harsh.
On the first page.
Well, I know this sounds really harsh because I think it doesn't bother me maybe in the way it bothers other people because I look at it differently. I look at it like, maybe it was part of the vernacular then, of course. And, I don't see, it's not Twain speaking, it's Huckleberry Finn speaking, and where Huckleberry Finn's from, his lack of education. It seems perfectly normal to me that, living at that time and whatever, he probably would use it. And to remove it would be doing a disservice to what African Americans had to put up with and stuff like that. So on that score, I didn't really have an issue with it, but I really enjoyed it. But then I thought, well, what are the ingredients though that make up a great American novel? Because the contenders are all very different. So when I finished this, I started this, and I thought, well, they're completely different. But so far, the only thing that is common theme between them is racism. So I thought to myself,
what is the other book? I can't see it there.
Oh, sorry. It's The Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby, wonderful.
Yeah.
I was hoping that was the other one.
But I was like, surely a racism cannot be the common ingredient in the Great American Novel. Right?
I don't know. Maybe it should be.
Maybe
that characterizes America more than anything.
Possibly. And maybe that's it. Because I haven't read that many. I've read Mice and Men. I don't know if that counts. They're all wild.
Wonderful.
The experiences of the characters are very different. I mean, this is obviously very rich people. This is poor people and others. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very, very tricky and difficult question. One of the American books I really enjoyed, which is not a classic, it's a modern classic, I suppose. Although I said previously, and Summer called me out on this because I said something was missing. Lonesome Dove. Is that a great American novel? Probably yes. Again, very different from the others. And then the controversial choice of an American novel that was hugely popular, Pulitzer Prize-winning book that I actually really enjoyed, again, and just took it for what it was without the problems behind it, is Gone with the Wind. I don't know what to choose, Randy. I really don't. I have to say, I can't think of anything to me that they're all American. I think they could only be American. They're all great novels, but I don't know, as I said, the term itself and designating it the great American novel, I think they all are to some degree. It's a cop-out, maybe.
I think the designation itself is a little inaccurate because it's similar to the literate Texan. There's not the great American novel. There's a great American novel because part of what makes a novel the great American novel is how well it fits the zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah.
And if you look at the novels that you're talking about, historically speaking, The Great Gatsby was about the 1920s.
Yeah.
And someone from the 20s could relate to that in a way that Mark Twain couldn't relate to, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and your point about the N-word is well taken because, I was raised in a small town in Texas. My father was one of the least racist men you'd ever meet, and he's gone now. But he thought that the appropriate, polite vernacular was a colored person colored man or a colored woman. And no matter how many times I tried to tell him, no, that's not the way you say it anymore. That's what he used because that's how he was raised and that's where he was from. So go figure.
Well, these things are difficult, and it's very hard sometimes to keep up with them. I mean, I personally don't like all these labels because it does cause problems. But like I was speaking to a good friend of mine the other day, and she lives in America, and she was saying because I mentioned something about American Indians, and then I corrected myself, and then they turned around and said, actually, no, probably the correct designation now, like recently, is American Indian again. So it's like it was
It's
in,
changed several times in my life.
it's back in again. Yeah, exactly. So you can't keep up. You can't keep up with these things.
What's old is new and what's new is old.
Yeah.
Although I don't think the N-word's ever coming back. Hope not.
No, probably not with good reason. That's true. Just a couple of comments before we move on to the next one. Greg didn't see it. Well, Greg, if you're interested, let me know. It's not too late, I'm sure of it. And, Randy's in the group as well, so I'm sure we'll be glad to have you there. Ariane, it's a tough question. It is, but very interesting one. Very interesting one. And as I said, I was trying to answer it with regards to what's the great English novel kind of thing. And again, it throws up similar but different issues. It's a loaded question because what characterizes the great American novel? Don't envy you having to answer this one, Mark. Well, Helen, I've never read it, To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm going to stick it on my list because it's also a fairly short book and I might get it done by the weekend.
It's also about racism.
Well, I would have had a pretty good weekend, wouldn't I, if I finished Huckleberry Finn, Great Gatsby, and To Kill a Mockingbird all within the space of the weekend. I think that would be fairly productive.
Nice. Yes.
It prompts a great discussion, though, that it does. Ariane says the topic would fill a series of videos, which you may be well placed to make, Mr. Andy Ray. A series.
We talked about that in my video about reading projects not too long ago. And that seems to be the most I proposed, 6, 7 different reading projects for myself and asked my viewers what they thought, they'd like to see. And I'll probably do all the projects eventually. But it seems like the Great American Novel is the most popular of the ones that I posted as a possibility. So now I just need to make a list of the candidates. And I think we've made a good bit of that right here in this video.
Definitely.
Sorry.
It's okay. Scott, since Fitzgerald ran from America to party during the Great Depression, I wouldn't say he wrote the Great American Novel. I'd say The Grapes of Wrath. To Kill a Mockingbird is a great pick. Yeah. I haven't read Grapes of Wrath yet, so I don't know. I only mentioned Of Mice and Men because it's the one I have read of the novels, I think, because Travels with Charlie's true, A Russian Journal's true. Yeah. So, Aaron, let's hope the infantilizing never returns also. Greg, deal me in. Perfect. Send me a message if you have Voxer. I'm happy to add you in, Greg. Aaron, to be honest, all your reading projects did sound worthwhile, Randy. So there you go.
Thank you. That was a fun video to make.
I'm sure you're all subscribed to Randy, but if you're not, do head over to Randy Ray, the Literate Texan, and give him a subscription. So should we move on to the second
subscriptions?
Move on to the second question, please.
Okay, this question is from Chris Beveridge. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh dear.
This question is from Alex is Curie 9693. Are you working on your garden/yard yet?
Define working on, I wonder. There has been some work done. I would show you, but the sun is right in the way at the moment there, and the windows are a bit dirty. But on the table there is a pot of a tub of plants that are waiting to be put into the other tubs there. We've had rain literally since I got them. Today's the first day we haven't. Well, we had in the morning. It's just cleared up, is what I meant to say. So, yes and no. I'm still waiting for the topsoil to be put on with the landscaping. So once that's done, I'm free to then get building with fences and start work on the garden. So there we have it.
All right.
I think they recommended they recommended getting professional help. And I have had a bit, not necessarily professional, but I do have a couple of kids from the village who come over to cut the grass and stuff like that. So, which is quite handy because at the moment I've got nowhere to store a lawnmower. And to be honest, can't really afford one at the moment, which is probably a lot of people's stories when they have to move house and buy loads of stuff. So, okay, let's move on to part 3. And I think there are 3 questions in this.
Yes, this is from at Ariane Fowler, 456 or 455. I have a few questions. Number 1, if you could live in a book world for a day, what book would you choose and why?
Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one because I guess my book worlds may be less fantastical than a lot of people's because I don't read a lot of fantasy. But if I had to live in some kind of book setting for a day, I think, and it probably comes as no surprise to a lot of people, I think I'd quite fancy hanging out in Treasure Island for a day with all the gang. Either that or maybe tag along, do a ride along with Sherlock Holmes for a day and his world. Or even maybe hanging out in a Western. I wouldn't mind hanging out in True Grit for a day. Something like that could be kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those all sound fun.
Yeah, those would have been my answers. If you were expecting Middle Earth or something, I do apologize, but yeah, I don't know enough about it yet. So
yeah, I would probably choose Middle Earth. I'd be wandering around with Frodo and Sam, complaining about how much I'm having to walk. Number 2, let's see. Did you have a teacher that inspired you in some way, specifically around reading and or in wanting to become a teacher yourself?
It's a good question. Teachers that inspired me, I think I was very lucky, especially in primary school. I don't know if that's what you call grade school or elementary school, the first level of schooling in America. They were all pretty motivating when it came to reading as a small kid. But I can't think of one specifically in terms of English literature at that young age. But when I was 16, and I headed off to boarding school, I did have, I think, a very inspirational English teacher, Mr. Allison, if you're watching, who was very eccentric, but very, just very good. He knew so much, and he was always happy to to encourage people. And he opened my world really from. To new things that I hadn't ever thought about reading before. I came to, for example, the plays of Peter Shaffer under him. So, reading Equus and Amadeus and Harold Pinter and things like that, as well as various novels too. He used to kind of do strange things. He would always start off in his chair like this, and then he would get lower and lower as the lesson progressed until basically his head was on the seat of the chair and his legs were stuck out far, and he'd be tapping his pencil, and he would maybe hide in cupboards and jump out at us after we've been talking about him for a bit and stuff like that. Very, very interesting person, but yeah, I really liked him. So that would be my answer to him. But when it comes to becoming a teacher, I don't think any of them got me into teaching. I guess my mum was an English teacher, and English as a foreign language teacher. She taught foreign children and foreign adults English. And I suppose, yeah, in some ways, maybe she's my inspiration for that. So shout out to you, Mum. Hi.
Oh, that's marvelous. Okay. And so number 3, let's see here. Is there a dream vacation travel destination that you would love to go to?
Well, I was thinking about this. I've been very lucky in my life to travel a lot. I grew up in Bermuda, which is kind of a dream location for a lot of people. I've lived in 7 or 8 different countries. I've traveled widely. I think I've been pretty much everywhere I want to go, but I would like to. I mean, it's easy, of course, for me to go to Europe. I don't think I have too many subscribers that I know of based out in the East. So I suppose what I would like to do is go to North America again. I've been several times, but the last time I was there was back in 1991, which is a few years ago. And I'd really like to go back there just because there are so many wonderful people I've met through BookTube who live over in the United States and Canada. And I think I'd like to have that holiday kind of doing a BookTube road trip, visiting everybody, hanging out, making a video, moving on, or buying books, moving on to the next one. So, yeah.
Well, and you've obviously been to Texas because we can hear it when you do your Texas accent and some of these.
Well, that's right. Indeed, I must have been Texan in another life, and somehow
You don't come up with something that authentic without having visited the Lone Star State.
Unfortunately, though, as shocking as it may sound, I have never been to Texas actually, but I do have a very good friend from when we were at school, boarding school again, who married a Texan, and he's living out there. And I can never remember though if it's Dallas or what's the other one?
Fort Worth?
No. Like
Austin.
No, is it Austin? It's not Austin. I'm thinking of it's Dallas and so there's another massive city, isn't there?
Houston.
Houston, thank you. Yeah, I can never remember if it's Dallas or Houston. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it's Dallas.
You can always tell a Texan, but you can't tell him much. Do we need to read more comments, or do we need to move on to the next question?
Thank you for shouting that out because the ticker's on a different panel. So actually, there are more comments. So,
okay, great.
Where have we got? Let's all go to. Good experience provided for the local kids too. Yeah. Helen. Let's all go to Treasure Island. Indeed. Summer, I thought you were going to say hanging out with the three guys in their boat. Well, Summer, there will be a question regarding that soon, I think. So, yeah. I thought he'd say that too. I think Treasure Island might come up. We love mums. And great answer. So much to see in the world, but meeting great people really tops off any travel experience. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree to that. Pat's here. Hi, Pat. Good to see you. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, next question. This one is from at Mrs. Fruity. Mrs. Fruity 76. Hi, Mark and Elvis. Do you have any author or authors that you consider automatic buys or never read again?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think it's. I don't know anymore. I was thinking about this. Like if you'd asked me 20 years ago, probably John Grisham would have been somebody I would have bought 25 years ago, let's say. I'm not sure I'd bother now because I haven't read any of him since the early part of this century. I don't read a lot of more modern stuff. I guess if I had to choose, I mean, unfortunately he died, but CJ Sampson would have been someone I would have just bought now, I think, without any thought to it. David Downing, I like. He wrote this wonderful series. I'd probably buy any book by him. And, I'm not going to count classics or anything because I think everybody knows if Jerome K. Jerome released a new book, I'd probably buy it straight away as with Robert Louis Stevenson or Arthur Conan Doyle. That would be absolute must buys. But yeah, I think Robert Harris. Let's go with Robert Harris. He's well known. And I think anything he writes, I would buy immediately. If we're talking about stuff I wouldn't touch, I guess I'm off this Max Brooks. Is it at the moment? After I tried to read his Bigfoot novel, which I just thought was pants, to be honest. No offense to anybody. So I probably wouldn't rush out and buy a Max Brooks book. Then I don't know. I mean, I can't really think. I did think about maybe Neil Gaiman, but to be honest, I read and enjoyed quite a few of what he wrote, and I'm not always necessarily one to just throw someone aside when they haven't been proven anything in a court of law or anything like this. But it kind of does leave a bad taste in your mouth, and I was thinking I don't like him enough to risk myself getting in trouble by going out and buying a new one that he wrote if he wrote a new one, maybe. So yeah, I don't know, but we'll go for absolute buy for me. Yeah, Robert Harris, who wrote Conclave, of course, and Fatherland and that kind of thing. Yeah, so I would choose him.
Okay.
And I think, do we have any more? Oh well, Steve Donohue's here. Treasure Island was
Hey,
written
Steve.
by a loser. Yeah, that's a bit harsh, Steve. All right, next one.
So our next one is at Allen's reads, if you and Elvis were to recreate three men in a boat in real life, which other booktubers would you pick to fill the remaining spots in the boat?
Well, I was thinking about you, Randy, and Sean, and then I thought, well, we'd probably end up at the bottom of the river. So
We need a big boat.
yes, we probably would. Yeah, we need to sail the Titanic down the Thames or something, right? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a great question, Alan, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one to answer. I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a really, really tough one. Who to take? I was thinking about this before, and as I said, I came up with a kind of jokey answer. I mean, it would be fun. We would have great conversations, but practically speaking, I don't think it would necessarily work on a small rowboat. You, me, Sean, and Elvis. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it wouldn't necessarily have to be someone you're like particularly close to, but there could be people who just would be there for like great observations, great conversation. I mean, if it has to be book related, booktube related, I suppose. I mean, you can't go too wrong, I suppose, with having Steve in your boat, could you really, to talk about stuff? Probably he's been everywhere you've been on the Thames, want to go on the Thames anyway, and maybe he's got his own story about being lost in the maze. I guess the only thing is we'll just have to have trouble to get him to keep his shirt on, right? So, but otherwise, I don't know. It is a fantastic question, Alan, but for me, a very tough one, because also I don't want to like maybe upset anybody by not choosing them, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe Steve and I could push him over, and Frida could stay and hang out with Elvis. So
There you go.
calling Robert Louis Stevenson a loser. See you later, Steve.
Okay, so next at Ellen Claire 3250. My question: what three things do you miss most about living in the UK?
Well, what three things do I miss most? Well, actually, funny enough, it was a topic mentioned on the radio today, and I mean, obviously, putting obvious things aside, like family and friends, but actual things, I would have to say the three things I miss most about living in the UK are, in no particular order, good bookshops. I'm sure they have fantastic bookshops here, but I just can't understand and read anything that's in them. So good bookshops, good Chinese food. I will say I'm not impressed by Chinese food here, and Marmite, which is like a specific spread we have on toast, Randy. If you don't know what it is, it's made from
I was just about to ask, what the hell is Marmite?
Yeah, it's yeast extract. It's like a thick, black, gooey, salty kind of spread that we.
Is it similar to Vegemite?
Yeah, it's the English version of Vegemite. Yeah, the British version of
Got
Vegemite.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple more questions from this same one from Alan. The next one: if you could only read, I'll be generous, three authors for the rest of your life, who would they be?
Yeah, it's not that generous, is it, Helen? Who would they be? I think it'd have to be people with like a big catalog. So I'm not going to go for the obvious ones people would expect me to choose. I'm going to go with people like someone like Edgar Wallace, who has a ton of books to read. They might be rubbish, but at least there's a ton of them to get through. Possibly also who? My goodness, I thought this out and I've completely gone blank. Edgar Wallace, and I think Conan Doyle. Actually, if I can have his complete works, I would actually go with him as well. And then probably somebody else. Who am I thinking of, Randy? Very prolific. E. Phillips Oppenheim. Let's go with that. So those are the three I'll read.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with Jordan Peterson.
Who?
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. Yeah, you know, him and Foster Wallace and that lot. Yeah, why not? You know, no. I think I'll stick with those three. Unfortunately, they are men, but yeah, I'll go with them.
Right.
So.
Okay. Do we need to return to the comments before the next question?
Not particularly, but we do have a couple of here. Great question, Alan. Yes, it was. I love Alan's question. Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Ariane. And Aaron, is that a Jaws quote? 20 plus people in a boat instead. So, okay, move on to the next one by Erin. I think.
Very close to the end here. This one is at Aaron Tolleman. What fictional place would you live in if you could?
Yeah, what fictional place would I live in if I could, right? Again, very good question. And quite a hard one to answer. Because I can't think of too many fictional places that I read about necessarily, unless my mind has gone blank. I suppose they're real places, but fictional versions of real places, maybe. But yeah, I'm not too sure, Aaron. It's quite a tough one. As I said, I haven't read too much in terms of particularly fictional places. Don't think I'd want to live on Treasure Island. I might go mad like Ben Gunn. I mean, if I'm missing good bookshops, good Chinese food, and Marmite here, it would be tricky to do it there. I'm just trying to think if I actually really read any real fantasy works where I'd actually want to live in the particular place. I don't know. What would you choose, Randy?
Well, so I'm not sure about which era, but the Star Trek universe probably. Yeah. Maybe the original series time period, because that seems a little more swashbuckling, and I love the fashion.
Yeah. You love the fashion.
Yeah, but chances are, you say something like that, it's kind of like living during the zombie apocalypse. We watch all these great movies about, Dawn of the Dead, The Walking Dead, and in our minds we're one of the survivors, but chances are we'd be one of the Walking Dead anyway. We'd be a zombie. And just like that in Star Trek, in my mind I picture myself on the bridge crew, but in reality I'd probably be an ensign down in engineering somewhere, just waiting to get killed when Khan rips open the Enterprise.
What color shirt would you like to wear, though?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Yeah. Well, I always obviously see myself.
Aaron's chosen it for you.
Oh, what did they choose?
So you'd be a red shirt then, Randy.
Definitely. I picture myself as a gold shirt, but the reality is I'd be a red shirt. Exactly.
Yeah, I think if I had to live, it would probably be some kind of, I don't know, Conan Doyle's London, maybe, or even one of the Wild West places. I kind of fancy hanging out there. Trying to improve my Western accent. My cowboy accent. But then
I'm just here to learn the accent, guys. So I'm not really interested in a gunfight.
I don't mind being one of those kind of rather eccentric English people you get in some of these Western films. Just kind of hanging out there, being pompous, trying not to get shot.
You could be the Duck of Death. Have you seen Unforgiven, Eastwood?
Yeah,
There's
but
an
not.
Englishman today. You can be English Bob.
Well, there we go.
Who his biographer was writing a book called The Duke of Death, but Little Bill kept mispronouncing it as the Duck of Death.
The Duck of Death. Yeah.
And he corrected him several times, and then Little Bill got in a bad mood, and he says, "Duck," I says. I love that film. Okay, so I think we're down to our last question here.
Well, hang on.
What?
A couple of comments. I think. Where are we?
Oh, do the comment. Sorry.
It's okay. And Summer says you could have picked Stephen King. He has a ton of books. Just kidding. And then so you'd be a red shirt then, Randy. Okay, wonderful. We have actually, by my count, I think we've got 3 more questions left. But
yes, 3 more questions for one more person. Yeah,
there should be Bookstalgic, followed by Book Lady Linda, followed by Julie.
Oh, there they are. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. When you said Stephen King, I thought, who would be crazy enough to want to live in Stephen King's universe?
No. I think it was just the fact that he has a lot of books to read. If I have to read one author for the rest of my life, 3 authors.
A different question. Yeah. Okay. So this is from at. Hang on. So I'm having a little trouble with my vision lately, which is why I seem. Let's see, where were we? At what is your favorite thing? Okay, so at Bookstalgic, is that where we're at?
Yeah. So Farah.
Okay, Bookstalgic, number 1. What is your favorite thing about each country you've lived in?
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, what is the favorite thing about each country I lived in? Well, I suppose Bermuda would have to be the sea, probably. Spending a lot of time in the sea and around the sea and by the sea. I think that would probably be the best thing about Bermuda. About the United Kingdom, family, I suppose, could be the easy answer for that one. Sweden, school, actually. I really enjoyed my schools in Sweden. School life there was interesting. We were there 2.5 years and went to 2 different schools, right? So that was kind of fun. Where are we up to now? Germany, nightlife. A good time in Germany, nightlife. Japan, I guess I'm going to go with food, probably. Hong Kong, I'm going to go with food as well. And also just kind of vitality, maybe, of like just it was always turned on. There was just people all the time everywhere, which is what got to me in the end. But in the beginning, what I found quite exciting. And then Czech Republic, I guess, I've been here so long, I'll have to say Elvis, because I got him here. He's a Czech dog. And so Elvis, the people I've met, the friends I've made here have been great, of course, as well. And also, I suppose, the beer. So let's go with those.
Can I slide in a question from me real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Is Elvis named after Elvis Presley or Elvis Costello?
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those questions no one really answers. In a roundabout way, Elvis Presley. But it's not because I'm a huge Elvis Presley fan. I do like him, of course. I did like his music. But it actually came about through, I was chatting with a friend of mine. And I told her I'm getting a dog. And she's like, well, what name will you give it? And I said, I don't know. I have been thinking of a lot of things. And then we were talking about funny names that people give to their kids. And I have a relative who has 2 children. And she gave kind of interesting names to her children. One of them is Coco. And the other was Elvis. And her father, who's my uncle, so she's my cousin. Her father sadly passed away back in, I think, 2005, and he was a big Elvis fan. So she called her son Elvis, and we were kind of laughing about it, but in a nice way, not taking the mick. And then my friend said, "Oh, that could be a good name for your dog," and I thought, "Yeah, that would be all right." So there we go. That's how we got it.
Okay. Very cool. So that was, now I got to slip back into the real fans. So, number two, are any of your friends or colleagues readers as well? And what is a Czech book or author that is popular there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people come up with this problem or have this problem is they probably don't have too many friends or colleagues who are readers. Hence, they start their booktube channels because they're looking for people to talk about books with. Now, um, a couple of my colleagues are more than, if you can quantify it, I suppose, more than average readers, i.e., they probably read a bit more than average. But they don't read anything like what I read, and we don't really read the same things. Or saying that actually, one was reading Shogun the other day, but they're reading it in Czech. There's not so much to discuss really there, but not really, not a huge amount. And from my friends here, not really at all. More likely from my students, actually. I'm quite pleased when I see the number of particularly teenage girls who read. Teenage boys, sadly, not so much, but there's a lot of reading amongst the teenage girls, which is good to see. But, again, we don't really share the same things, so don't talk about it really together. But is there a Czech book or author that is popular there? Yeah, quite a few. Karel Čapek, I guess he wrote War of Newts, which I guess can be seen as maybe a science fiction book. He also is the person who, or his brother, was the person who coined the term robot. So the word robot comes from Czech Republic as a Czech word that's been put into English from a play that Karel Čapek wrote called RUR, which is, I think, Rosenbaum's Universal Robot, and it's the first time robot appears in anywhere. So that's Czech. There's Jaroslav Hašek's Good Soldier Švejk, which is, I think, worth a read, and it gives you kind of a good, even though it's written during the First World War, still kind of gives you a good understanding of the country and where it comes from and kind of mentality maybe here. So I'll go with those. Maybe more modern, you've got people like Bohumil Hrabal, who, I Served the King of England's pretty good, but he was a bit, I got put off him when I read his book about cats because I thought it was going to be a cute book because he bought a cottage and there were loads of cats living there and he really likes them at first, then he becomes obsessed with them, then he turns into like a psycho killer murdering them and stuff like that, and it's just insane. So I was a bit, but he was a little bit, I probably can't use the word, mentally, no, what can I say? He had mental health issues and ended up taking his own life anyway. I don't know. I think that those are some of the ones. But he did write, which probably some of you have seen, Closely Observed Trains. This book, Closely Observed Trains, it was an Oscar-winning 1960s or something, I think, foreign language film. So, yeah, there we go.
All right. Let's see here. Number 3, has Elvis ever been
swimming?
Has Elvis ever been swimming? And if so, does he like the water?
He has been swimming once, and I think for him it was enough because he was quite a young puppy, and the people I bought him off or got him from, friends of mine, they did take all the puppies swimming, and the father kind of just threw them in. And Elvis didn't look particularly thrilled with it. He will go in the water, but only if he can stand up in it. So no, he's not a fan at all of swimming, and he doesn't jump into the ponds and stuff we have here. He'll walk down and like drink if he wants to, but he won't jump in like a lot of dogs now. So.
Okay, great. Anything going on in the comments?
No, sadly, comments are, but that probably means they're just so tied up and enraptured by your questions and my responses. So
I am representing your audience. So
yeah, you are.
Next, at Book Lady Linda.
Mm-hmm.
Book Lady Linda asks, "What food does Elvis like most?"
He loves chicken and turkey. Like if you cook it up for him, boil it, and usually I boil it or fry it without oil. But he really enjoys that. Generally speaking, I don't think he's a massive foodie. He doesn't really care He's not a dog who will just beg. He doesn't beg for food. He often eats Friskies packet food. The wet meat kind of pouches mixed with Friskies Junior biscuits. He refused to eat the senior biscuits, even though he should be. Apparently, there's no difference, just the size, and but he still clings to the junior ones. Because I remember when they said, "Oh, he can move on to senior or adult now," and they were like this big compared to that big. He just wouldn't eat them. So yeah, so that's pretty much his favorite food, I guess. Treat wise, he loves. He doesn't like biscuits, like hard biscuits or dog biscuits like that. He will only eat something that's like meaty. He does like bananas on occasion, not a whole one, of course, but pieces of banana or some fruit, but generally not much. Yogurt and occasional vanilla ice cream he will also eat. So,
I have a dog named Brockmire, and this morning he was trying to get up on the love seat next to me. He managed to make it up into the love seat next to me, and I had just eaten some pancakes, and I'd eaten about half a stack of pancakes, and I was eating off of a TV tray, and I couldn't get Brockmire to sit down next to me, and I thought it was because I had a few things in the love seat with us, mostly some medications in a big baggie. And he seemed to be having trouble finding a place to sit down, but he wasn't having trouble finding a place to sit down. He was trying to get a hold of my pancakes.
I thought you were going to say you had maple syrup all over your face, and he just came over and started.
No, there's no syrup in the beer today. So
there are a couple of comments actually before we begin. So we are engrossed. Aaron indeed was listening intently and also trying to take note of some of the Czech authors. Well, maybe I'll make a video on them one day. Funny, I haven't really done that. Because I have read some Czech poetry because I do like the horror poems of Karel Jaromír Erben, who writes like these kind of fairy tale horror stories in poetry form, and yeah, some of them are pretty grim. Faris says, "Thank you for answering my questions. I'm listening but working, so I can't really comment much." No worries. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the question. Aaron, funny, when it comes to snacks, my dog is exactly the same. Meaty ones only. Guess it makes a change to the standard kibble. Yeah, the old kibble. Kibble and bits and bits and bits. Super. Okay, ready when you are for the last set of questions, I believe. And feel free, of course, anybody, if you want to add a question who's watching who didn't put one in before, to put it in the comments. You're more than welcome to do that. And if not, then it doesn't matter. I won't be upset. So,
okay, we have two more questions from Book Lady Linda. The second one is approximately how many books do you own? Or how many books do you have in your home?
Yeah, I think approximately, I didn't go through and count it. I'd say between 1,500 and 2. No, I don't think it's as much as 2,000. I'd say coming up to 1,500 probably. Yeah.
Okay, 1,500. And then question number 3 from Book Lady Linda is what do you love about owning your new home?
Yeah, well, sadly, Linda, I don't own it yet. Of course, the bank technically does because I have a mortgage. But but the real answer, in spirit of which is asked, I think it's the freedom of the fact that it's mine. Like I can't explain it. It's like I'm not paying rent. I'm paying. If I would be paying rent, I'm paying now towards getting the house. So I should have something to show for it when I'm done. Obviously, the location. I really love living here, and Elvis does as well. The countryside, the mountains, the farmland, and everything. It's really nice. I'm not too pleased at the moment with this position now with the sun. I have a massive window. I haven't got curtains for it yet, and I've been putting off getting them because it'd be quite pricey. But I just probably never noticed in the winter that it was this bad when I try to do lives, and we'll get around it someday. But otherwise, I think it's the fact that it's, I don't know, it's just it's special because it's mine, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's like it's different. I don't know. It's a wonderful question, but it's quite hard to put into words the feeling. Let's say. So yeah.
All right.
Okay, you can move right on. No more
So
comments. So
final set of questions is from at Julie Dalava 9567. How did you get to the CR?
So how did I get to the Czech Republic? Actually by bus, although I know that's not what you mean. I did take a bus from London because I had a lot of luggage, so it was easier that way. But how did I get here? Well, I've been teaching in Asia for I've been teaching in Asia for a few years. Done 4.5 years in Japan, a couple of years in Hong Kong. Gone back to England for a bit, then back to Japan, then back to England. I was working actually for an American company called Verizon, and I wasn't teaching, so I was out teaching for a bit, and I don't know, I didn't really take to office work. I missed teaching, but my department was split between where they were located in England and an office here in the Czech Republic in a place called Ostrava, which is far to the east, kind of on the border nearest, I guess, Poland and Slovakia. And I used to talk to them every day. I made some good friends on there. We used to talk either by inter-office messenger or on telephone. And one day I just said, I'm a bit tired of this. I miss teaching. And they said, well, why don't you come to the Czech Republic to teach English? And I thought, well, yeah, I was looking at getting back to Asia, but I thought, as my parents are getting older, might be better to be a bit closer to home because it's only 2 hours to London by plane, less than that probably, just about. So yeah, I said, why not? And I knew I didn't want to live in a big city because I think you get a better experience from a country when you live in smaller towns. I found that in Japan. And I just looked online for language schools, found this small town where I used to live, messaged some language school there. They said, okay, if you're sure, if you really understand this is not Prague and it's not that close to Prague, then we would love to have you. And yeah, that was almost 15 years ago, I guess, and I'm still here.
Very good. And then that reminds me, I just flew in from the United States, and boy, are my arms tired. Number 2, what is the best thing about living there?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, obviously, the best thing about living here, and this is why I never say I have any regret. This is why I say I never have any regrets in my life, because I would never exchange Elvis for anything, to be honest, because I think he brought something to me at a stage in my life, which to some degree, I don't like to say the terms like saved me or rescued me or that kind of thing, but he gave me something when I felt perhaps I was at a lower point in my life. So I'm ever grateful to him. And that's, as I say, why I would never change anything, because that would change getting him probably, and whatnot. So for me, obviously, the best thing about living here was getting him, and then number 2, getting the house, I guess. Let's put it that way. Although probably my father wouldn't be too pleased. He's helped me out with the house to then say, oh, yeah, the best thing is getting the dog, and second was getting the house. But yeah, I'm sure that you probably understand. But on a different level, I guess the best thing about living here is the people and the friends I've made. I'm very lucky. I mean, the place I work, my colleagues are not just my colleagues, they are my friends, and they are to some degree a substitute family for here. I mean, obviously they're no substitute for my family, but many of them have invited me to their houses at Christmas when I found myself alone at Christmas and things like that. So I'm very grateful for all of that.
Okay, the next question is, what is the biggest challenge or the biggest challenges?
Biggest challenge is without a doubt language. Czech language is very difficult. I actually found it easier to communicate in Japanese than I found it in Czech. Czech has quite fiendish grammar. It has 7 declinations, 7 different cases. They change the endings of proper nouns as well as verbs. So, my name is Mark, of course, but If you are with Mark, it becomes Markem. If it's without Mark, it's Marco. If it's, these things. So this is really difficult. So I would say biggest challenge is language. And because of that, it means there's quite a lot of other challenges, i.e. when it came to building the house, it's more challenging because, of course, it's in a hard language, and any official dealings, even though I've been here for a long time and I understand quite a lot and I generally get by, of course, if it's in the shop or in the pub, I still feel I have to take a Czech person with me if I'm going to do any official stuff, whether it's with the foreign police, whether it's with the government agency or whatever. So yeah, the language is the hardest challenge.
Okay. And the last, final, ultimate question: how does school there differ from school in the UK?
Well, Julie, it's a great question, but not one I feel I can really answer because I've never taught in the UK. I only can go by what friends of mine who are teachers say, or from what I hear. My own experience here would be very different because I teach in, to all intents and purposes, a private school. It's a small village school in the mountains. It's regarded as one of the best schools in this country, which again, I'm very lucky to be part of that team. And it's a special place with a principal who's got a special ethos, very well known for it. So it's always going to sound better than probably almost any school in the UK. I mean, given the cool stuff we get up to and different trips, the flexibility of stuff. I think if you had asked me this question when I first started, I would have said to you, Czech children were much more polite than English children. However, unfortunately, and this is no disrespect to any of my children watching, generally you are, of course, very polite to me on a one-to-one level. But I do think things like the general manners have declined even since I've been here. So without question, any kid, 14 years ago or whatever, would have let any adult on the bus first at school. And now I'm not seeing that, right? So that's sadly a negative, but it's not like a huge thing. Luckily, I think we are preserved, or we are saved from a lot of the problems that do dog schools in Western Europe and the United States. So, obviously things, maybe it's different in a big city like Prague, but there's no concept of, gangs, gang culture, and other crimes and stuff that you might get in other schools in urban areas in England, America, etc. So yeah, that's all I can say to that, really.
Well, very good. That's it. I'm out of questions.
We do have 3 comments, and then I can wrap up if there are no other questions here, because I'm sure. Oh, hang on. Where are we? Oh, yeah, the meaty ones. That would be an adventure. Helen got to pop off. This is fun. I watched the rest on replay. Bye, everyone. And Jim's popped in from Mystery and Mayhem. Hi, everyone. I'm glad I was able to get on for a bit to catch this. You're both looking good. Well, thank you very much. Question from Mrs. Mystery and Mayhem. Mark, why aren't your pictures up on the walls yet? Because it's my house now. I don't want to bash nails into my walls. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's because I haven't decided exactly what's going to go where, and I would like to get some nice pictures with nice frames and things like that. But again, it costs money, and I have to really start prioritizing what I spend my money on. Because obviously building this house, getting this house done, did cost more than it should have done, or at least that I expected it to, which you factor in, of course. But since it was finished in August, I blew through pretty much anything I had left or saved from, for things that I didn't expect to have to pay for. I mean, some of the administrative stuff has been very expensive. So yeah, until I can get back on my feet. Don't worry, I'm not I'm not on the edge yet. But in terms of just spending money, on, and some things are quite expensive here. Actually, I have to say. I mean, while a lot of things are much cheaper than England, things like furniture, I think, are a little bit more expensive here, at least in terms of how they stack up against your salary. So yeah, Jim and Mrs. Jim, it's just priority really, and pictures, are not my priority, sadly, but they will get there. I'll get there. So if there aren't any more questions, we'll give you a minute or two. We'll probably think about wrapping up. I'm sure Randy has stuff he wants to get back to, perhaps. But if there are any questions, I will, of course, answer them. I do have a question for you, though, Randy. What should we expect to come up on your channel in the next week or so, unless it's a surprise?
So now that I'm finished playing Voice of the People, Vox Populi, it's wonderful. I've got videos coming up about how to get started on BookTube. I've got videos coming up on how to read 100 books a year. I've got a weekly recap coming up on Saturday. A review of the book Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk is coming up, which was one of my horror mayhem reads and is highly recommended. I thought Lullaby was terrific. And then I'm starting June on the Range along with just about everybody else I know on June 1st. And of course, I'm buddy reading Lonesome Dove with two people. I believe I'm buddy reading these with James Ricala, Quaint and Curious Volumes. And, oh, golly. You see, my brain draws a blank sometimes because of the cancer meds that I'm on. I know his name, but it's not coming to me right now.
Is he one of the hosts?
New booktuber, Hedgehog.
Sonic?
Yeah, I'll think of it later. But yeah, I got a lot of good stuff coming up over the next 7 or 8 days.
Okay.
I think it's good stuff anyway. Chris Beveridge doesn't agree. Chris Beveridge doesn't like my videos.
Well, there we have that. You're not alone there. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, he won't be watching this anyway, unless he's got a way around, watching videos that he's not supposed to be watching. So,
right. He's getting close to earning that treatment from me too.
Yeah. It just becomes tiring after a while. I have to say, nothing was terrible. Nothing was truly terrible. But when you get bombarded by these kind of comments, and some of them are just plain weird, actually, you just, ain't nobody got time for that.
Right. I've gotten 2 comments from him so far, and they were both negative. I didn't find either of them insulting, condescending, maybe. And it's funny because I'm blessed with the most appreciative commenters and viewers on my channel. And honestly, I don't know that I've ever felt so immersed in a community, certainly not a virtual community, as I do in BookTube. But the one that stands out this last week was the comment from so-and-so who said my How to Speak BookTube video, his first word was boring. And then he explained what he'd rather see me make a video about, which I didn't even understand. It had something to do with chronological order or something with plots, but certainly not something that's interesting to me.
Someone's telling you what I told you. He's that way with everyone. So there you go.
Yeah. I feel a lot better about that. I thought maybe he's picking on me because I was a hillbilly.
Yeah. It's loud. I hear clanking. So no, I'm sure that's not the reason. After all, I demonstrated my hillbilly skills the other day in the video, and I didn't hear from him. So
very nice, very impressive.
Oh dear. Well, thank you, Summer. That's great of you. Yeah. I will just point out before we sign off that I will be back again tomorrow. I think at the same time, although I haven't confirmed it with him. I will be back tomorrow with Jim from Mystery Mayhem. Yeah. We've
definitely something.
Yeah, it should be around this time. I have to fit in with Jim's work schedule now, so
At least you can get Jim to make a video with you. I've been asking Jim to make a video with me now for 1.5 years, and he hadn't done it.
Really?
I'm exaggerating. It's been 1.5 years.
You just got to catch him in a good mood, and
I guess so.
You got to be
I
persistent.
haven't been able to yet.
I pushed him for the last, 3 weeks or something. Yeah. So anyway, well, at least I managed to grab you and pin you down finally. So we've managed to do that.
Go,
So,
yeah, big fun. I'm really honored to be asked, actually.
no,
So
I'm
thank you.
absolutely honored to have you. And have you got any lives planned at the weekend or not?
I have some friends. I actually have a couple of dates planned for this weekend.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, with a couple of lady friends. So I'm looking forward to that. I am single and ready to mingle, ladies.
Wow, so our viewers has just shot right up. please leave your name and number in the comments below, and Randy will get back to you.
Right with you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Randy, thank you ever so much. And thank you ever so much for all your questions that people wrote in. And thank you for watching. I am going to end it there because the sun is going to get worse before it gets better. And yeah, do take care, everybody. Thanks again, and see you tomorrow evening, same time, if it's all right with Jim, which I think it probably is, because he said he's also looking forward to it. See you all tomorrow or next time. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.